Hello and welcome to the Let's Run Social podcast with your host Matt Rubus and co-host Nick Boddington.
Oh, okay, co-host now, is it?
You've been downgraded this one.
Hi everyone.
So today, what are we talking about? Knowing your numbers, which is a big one. So this is where before spending money on ads, it's really important to define goals and metrics, because otherwise you're just going to throw a load of money down the drain.
Yeah. And when do you mean knowing the numbers in the Facebook ad or knowing the numbers in your conversions on your post click?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is just break it down in terms of what numbers to look at from the kind of the ad level, what that needs to look like, but also then after the click as well, because this will give us that solid foundation and allow us to work back. So we're going to start with looking at goals and metrics. So what it is actually that you want to achieve revenue wise, and then how we can work that back in terms of lead gen and e-commerce, which you're going to need to help me out on that one. And how we can then build out a really solid foundation rather than just flushing a load of money down the drain. So what we're going to start with saying is don't spend money on boosting posts or just seeing what happens, because you don't need to.
Yeah. So when we're talking lead gen, we're talking as an example of a lead gen site. Who would we use as an example for this?
Yeah. So we're going to look at a webinar funnel for that one. So when I go down into the webinar funnel, what we're going to start with just deciding is, so I'm going to do webinar funnel and e-commerce. What is the revenue goal that you are looking to achieve? So let's say, for example, you have a course. So this is lead gen. This is a webinar funnel. You have a £1,000 course, and your revenue goal for the next 30 days is to make £10,000.
Yeah.
You therefore need to sell 10 courses.
Yeah.
So it's about looking then, okay, so in order to get to that £10,000 revenue goal, how many leads will I need? So this is if you're a digital product or a service-based company, or how many landing page views do you need if you're e-com? And that's where you're going to help me.
So we're essentially reverse engineering. So exactly. So we start at the 1,000, do we? 10 courses a month.
Yeah.
And we work backwards.
Exactly. Yeah, and then we're going to look at what numbers need to be where, and we're going to use benchmarking and averages on this. Obviously, if you have this data, great, because a lot of people will already have it. If you don't, then this is going to give you an idea and a steer in terms of where you need to go in order to be able to predictably manage your social media campaigns.
So you say they already know. Is that because they've already done some webinars or whatever?
If they have
had some success.
Yeah.
If you only just started,
yeah,
and you're about to do one, how do you know what?
I'm going to tell you benchmarking.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't use the boost button. Refer to episode 1 on that, where we talk a bit more about boosting. This is what you need to do in order to get more predictability into your ad spend and build that solid foundation. So if we use the webinar funnel as an example, we want to sell those 10 courses at £1,000 to get £10,000. I am referring to your notes if you're watching this on video, because I don't remember the numbers. Then on average, 2% of our email list will convert into a purchaser. So if we take those 10 courses that we want to sell, and we divide that by 2 times 100, that will give us how many leads we need, which is 500.
So we need 500 leads to come in.
Yeah.
Now, not all those leads are going to show up. So is that in there as well?
So this is where we're using a webinar to get the leads, and then we're going to use email. So the 2% is of the email conversion. So
after they've watched the webinar.
That's right, yeah. So we're going to get people into our funnel at £4 per lead as an average. If you've already got a funnel running, you can have a look, and if you've already been running ads. £4 is kind of benchmark industry average. It does fluctuate depending on your exact business. And then if you times that by 500, that will give us our
£2,000
ad spend.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
they can split that £2,000 into £400-500 webinars throughout the 30 days, couldn't they? Or would you just do it on one webinar in that 30 days?
So it's just a case of how you get your 500 leads is up to you.
Okay, fine.
But what we're saying is that on average, you're going to have to pay Facebook £400 to do that. So in this particular example, it is a webinar funnel. You're going to need to spend £2,000 to get 500 people into your webinar, into your email sequence, and then 2% of them. Some of them are going to convert right on the webinar.
Yeah.
But we're using that 2% as a conversion on the email list that will then have those follow-up emails to get to your £10,000 in the first 30 days.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if, say, you don't have £2,000 to spend, then you simply just
get a credit card.
Yeah, you can do that. Or you can just reduce your goal. So if it's not, if you've only got £1,000 to spend, then that's going to give you £5,000 back.
Or you can bring it down to saying, I need £2,000. How many do I need to sell to get to £2,000? And then I'm going to throw all that money straight back into the next webinar to get me up to £10,000.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can scale. But yeah, if £2,000 scares you, that you don't need to spend that much. This is just working, like Nick said, reverse engineering to get to a revenue goal of £10,000. So really, that's the starting point. You need to work out where it is you want to be. What money do you want to make? Once you've decided what money you want to make, we can use these numbers to confidently, predictably get to that figure. And that's a 5 times return on ad spend, which is amazing. But if you don't have that, you can just start smaller. It just take a little bit longer.
So do we? Because obviously we know webinars, we do them ourselves. So we know that 50% of the people may not turn up to the webinar, but we've got their email address.
Yeah.
So as long as we're emailing them even after the webinar in the correct way, we still stick to that conversion rate, do we?
Yeah, because we're using the 2% of leads. We're not doing it. Right, so we're more saying, because the webinar really is more of a lead magnet. And obviously we provide a load of value, and you can go into so 50% of people that sign up probably turn up. But in this particular example, it's, you're essentially paying Facebook for the lead, and you've got that as an asset then. That's on your email list. So it's more about thinking about the bigger picture, and that on average 2% of your email list will convert. So if you are talking to them, building know, like, and trust, then of your email list, 2% of them are likely to go on to purchase to get to that £2,000 ad spend figure.
Okay. So do you think we need to take the listeners through beginning to end, stats wise, numbers wise, or
didn't I just do that? What do you mean?
No, I suppose you did. I think maybe I'm overthinking you get 500 people to a webinar, 250 turn up.
Doesn't matter how many turn up because we've got them as they're a lead.
So we've now jumped past the webinar. May have had a few orders. We're now email 1 of our email sequence goes out.
Yeah.
So what will that email 1 be? Would that like a master journey? What, or are we selling our product over and over again through that email sequence to get people to close?
No, so your email sequence is going to be not just about pushing product, it's just about nurturing that relationship. Okay. So it's just looking at the long-term picture, is that when you build up your leads, it's 2% of them are likely to convert into purchasing that course. It's not to say that within a week or 2 or 6 months. It's just 2% is an industry standard for the number of leads that you have that will become a customer. They might be a repeat customer. They might not. They might take a year to convert, but it's just a way for us to be able to calculate back.
So the listeners can't just go, okay, I'm going to do one webinar, set it up 30 days later. I haven't got 10 grand. They need to then build, because you're going to get some orders of those webinars anyway leading up to it. So would you say that you need to build up that thing of saying, right, well, I'm going to do a webinar every 2 weeks or once a month, and you start building and building and building. Your email list gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So then you're doing your email sequence, which is like, hey, look at us. This is what we're doing. Here's some testimonials. Yeah. And then like occasionally going with the sale hook of, hey, I'm doing a special offer of 25% off my course.
Yeah.
Buy it today, sort of thing.
But the 2% is that you would hope that would be of the amount of people that you've got on your email list within a 30-day period. So the other people, because obviously that's only 2%, so there's going to be a lot of people that are left over. They still may go on, and then that's a conversation then about lifetime value.
Yeah.
But the 2% of people that come into your ecosystem within those 30 days should convert onto your product.
Okay. So they're really so you actually get to the point that you can kind of say you're printing money, because once you've got the whole sequence right and it's perfected. Yeah. And bear in mind, I think the listeners need to understand that this isn't just do it and then it works. You've got to keep going back to all this, because I think there's a lot of out there on the YouTube world and stuff. There's a lot of, hey, do this and you'll make a load of money straight away. Yeah, this is just a framework. Like, that's all this is. There's so much. I'm not saying that if you go and spend £2,000, this is going to be this is an exact science. Once you have an optimized funnel, this is what you can achieve. And it might be that you launch a funnel like this. So you do send traffic to a webinar. We could talk about ecom too. And it doesn't convert like this, because then that means you need to look at optimization. Are your ads right? Something's broken.
Is your landing page right? Exactly.
Yeah.
When that is optimized using these numbers, this is where you can get to. But it's just a way of helping people see that you don't need to just hope and pluck a number out of the air if you have this data available to you. Well, we noticed. So if we look at the webinars that we do, we tested a daytime and a nighttime. Yeah. So the daytime one pulls us in 50% of people turn up. Yeah. What did the nighttime one do? What was looking at? It was 10%. Yeah, it wasn't very high at all, was it? So you're talking the same amount of people. You've gone from the same advert, same audiences. Everything's the same apart from the time of the day you do the presentation. So at night time, effectively, our theory on it was, people are going to be, kids have gone to bed, they've had dinner, maybe they want to sit down and listen to Nick on a webinar, or maybe not, with a 10% turn up rate. But then we do it in the daytime, and we have a 50% turn up rate. You could do it on a different day at 8 p.m. and it's trying everything, isn't it? Exactly. So so like going back to these like YouTube videos that we've all watched, and I'm sure our listeners have all seen them, where they're looking at particular interests and, hey, do this, and you'll be a multimillionaire or whatever. Completely, it can happen. Yeah. But there's so much more work that needs to go into the bottom of it, the back end of it, to get things right. Even with ours, we turned slides around, didn't we? Yeah. And that had a positive effect. It's like bringing in a sales slide nearer, because rather than 5 minutes later, because people were dropping out. Yeah. So that 2% is on the basis that your product is more than like £300. If you have an info digital product that is a lot less than that, then you're looking at maybe up to 6%. So, if you have any queries around any of that, then just drop me a message. But I did also want to touch on ecom as well and give an example here. So if you aren't a digital product, a course owner, creator, or whatever, or a service provider, and you actually sell a tangible product, then this is an example of how you can calculate those. So if we use the example of selling 200 units of a product with an average cart value, I'm hoping my maths is right on this, so make sure you listen, Nick. Sell 200 units of a product at an average cart value of £30. The total revenue would be £6,000. That's what I've decided is that I want to make in the next 30 days. Now, I've gone with 7% of people that land on the page will purchase the product. Is that too low? Is that too high? Land on what page? On the landing page of the website. So they've come through to the product page. Yeah. It depends on. What did you say was your average? Is like 10% or so? Like, was it? Well, 10% will add to cart. Okay. So if you're talking about traffic coming to a website from all the different directions, and what's your conversion rate of a website, 1 to 2% is average is good. So if you've got someone who hasn't really done any cold traffic or anything like that, but they're pushing themselves out there and all this sort of stuff, and they've been doing that for a while, and they've got a lot of repeat business, then they could boast like 10 to 15%. Yeah.
but it's cold traffic
depends on
that
the
breaks
product
it.
and the order value. I think in terms of this one, it's like an average value of the cart is £30. So a benchmark for that in terms of a conversion from somebody that lands on the page to actually purchasing the product is 7%. Let's just say that that's my product and that's my conversion. Again, it's up to the listeners to use their numbers. This is all just about calculating what ad spend you need in order, and it's just demonstrating.
It's always going to be higher or lower.
Exactly.
But then you're finding the other problems with the site.
Bottlenecks. Yeah, exactly. So in this scenario, we're just going to use 7% of people that land on my e-com site. So I've got all different products. Will actually go on to purchase a product. My average cart value is £30. So we take the 200 units that I need to sell and we divide that by the 7%, times it by 100, and that gives us 2,857. So that's how many people we need to get onto our landing page.
Yeah.
And because we love ads, that's how we're going to do it. So we run a ad on Facebook and we get people over to the website, and I've ran this campaign and that's coming out at 50p per landing page view, which I don't think is...
It's about right.
It's kind of there or thereabouts. I think, when you're going up to like a quid, you then want to start probably looking at that as being a bottleneck. But if we're using 50p, which is massively achievable with Facebook ads, your ad spend would need to be £1,428.50. And that would give you a 4.2% return on ad spend. So it's just to demonstrate that, you can reverse engineer what you need to spend on ads, and rather than just plucking numbers out of the air or, if you throw enough shit at it, some of it will stick, all of that stuff, we can confidently reverse engineer what our goals are and then work back and work out what our ad spend needs to be. In this instance, hopefully I've helped with some averages. If you have your own data, that's obviously... Because
everyone's website's different, everyone's lead, everyone's industry. Like talking about the webinar, what do we pay for our webinar? £5?
We're literally on like £5, I think.
Okay.
Do you mean per lead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then we've also got some clients in the property market.
Yeah.
And their webinar, £10 a lead, I think it's coming through us.
Yeah.
But then you're talking, it's a different industry, aren't you? So Facebook it's a busy industry.
Different audience to get into, isn't it?
So that's where you have to just test all your different... So all these different things during this funnel have to be individually tested. It's kind of like you set it up, you run traffic to it, and then you go through all these different stats that you've gone through and see where they're stacking up towards it, and then fix each place. Yeah. Pause your ads, fix something, turn it back on again. Because that's where you can become that successful online shop or lead generator or course or whatever, when all those things stack up.
Yeah.
And it might be that you're trying to sell your course at 250 quid. It might be that all those things stack up and it tells you that your price needs to be 497 quid.
Exactly.
To make the money.
Yeah, exactly. You've got then, once you've used and got jotted down all of these numbers, you can just make tweaks. And my advice would be for anyone doing this is just to set up a spreadsheet and just have it all listed out, and then you can just keep an eye on it. So you can go in each day and keep an eye on how everything's performing and adjust accordingly. Yeah. And what's amazing is that one tiny small tweak, even if it's just a couple of a percentage, can have a massive, massive impact on your profit.
So someone listening now who might want to do their own course or something, or sell an individual product. And we've been there. What do you sell your course at? So if you just picked a figure, a reasonable figure with a bit of logic behind it, but this will actually determine the price of your course, wouldn't it? Because if it didn't stack up, or you thought, okay, I'm coming out at a 3 ROAS, but I want to come out now at a 5 or 6, everything else is working.
Yeah.
Could you then just put the price of your course up to try and get
Absolutely. I think that's just a test in itself, isn't it, really? It's funny though, that because sometimes you can, or some people won't be getting the sales and then they'll reduce the price, but actually that can go against you.
Or up it.
Upping it can actually go in your favour because it's seen more as a premium product. So yeah, that absolutely price is a variable, and that's something to look at. Depending on the price point though, depends on how the funnel will be used, and we can go into that in more depth on a different podcast, because obviously if you've got somebody coming in cold and you're trying to sell them a £3,000 product, then that might be quite a difficult ask. but we're looking at this over kind of a small percentage, your leads coming in on a webinar funnel at 2%, or if it is that direct, but this cart value is only £30. So that's where the 7% comes in. So massive, price is a huge factor.
With the expensive ones, you just expect more nurturing, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
More education, more free downloads, really building it into
Yeah.
someone's daily life
Exactly.
that you're the expert.
And there's so many different products out there that we'd be here for forever to go into each one, but hopefully that's some framework that will help people to realize that you don't need to guess.
Yeah,
you absolutely don't need to guess.
These things are set in stone. They're on they're on the internet.
Yeah.
It's pretty much guaranteed, and you do see that once you've got these stats in place, they don't really change. I mean, you might go in every day into your ads manager and see a slight difference, but when you, like we do with our ads with our clients, you look over a 7, 14, 30-day, 60-day period, and it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that was really informative. I've learned something.
Oh,
So,
I'm glad.
Anything else to add to finish it off, or?
No, I think that's
done.
it really. If that, guys, just reach out if you need any help with your calculations.
Yeah. Okay.
We're more than happy to help.
Yeah. So Let's Run Social, www.letsrunsocial.com. If you want to inquire with us or have a word with us or whatever, or use us as an agency because you don't want to do it yourself or whatever it might be, then just give us a call. Go onto the website. Go from there. Yeah, really informative. Like that, Matt.
Cool. Thanks for listening, guys.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.